And as I mentioned, the new charge is due to be introduced this week, 50 cent on medical cards, and it seems to be going slightly under the radar with not a lot of talk about it. So we've decided to try to find out more about this new levy. We've invited the Irish Pharmacy Union to join us, and Tadhg O'Leary, who is a Blarney-based pharmacist, joins me on the programme. Good morning to you, Tadhg.
Good morning, Michelle.
You're welcome to the programme. Now, am I right in saying that this levy was introduced, was it last December's budget when it was first announced?
Yes, it was announced in the budget, Patricia, last year, and it's coming in on Friday.
Yeah, because it was one of those things, because it was last December, it just seems so far away that a lot of people have really forgotten about it.
They have, and there hasn't been a lot of coverage of it in the media or a lot of publicity about it. I find here in the pharmacy that patients seem to know very little about it. The HSE were to do run a public notification campaign. Now, so far we got some leaflets from them 2 days ago, but that's all they've done so far.
And I certainly haven't seen anything in the newspapers or heard anything on the radio or television by way of an advertising campaign. Now, just to try and explain as far as you know about it at this stage, because it's all so new and there doesn't seem to be that much in family.
That would be 20 items per family, yes.
And if you were to reach that, then you wouldn't have to pay anything for any other items you'd be getting.
That's hopefully the way it'll work out. Like, we haven't been given a lot of time, to change the IT systems. But it's hoped that here in the pharmacy we'll be able to facilitate people not paying more than €10 in the calendar month. Yeah. There will be some confusion around family units at the start because of the short notice of the change, There may be some confusion about family units and dependents and children in continuing education, etc.
Oh God, it sounds like a nightmare. It just, for 50 cent per item, it just sounds like a nightmare. So pharmacists now, Tadhg,
I don't agree with this. And it was interesting, the Minister recently commissioned a report, to have a look at the way we spend money in the healthcare sector, and that report said that it would actually cost more to do this than they would take in.
It'll cost more to collect it?
Yeah. The report was called Resource Allocation in the Health Sector, and they advised against introducing the levy because they felt the costs involved in collecting it would be higher than the revenue they brought in.
Yeah, because there's going to be a huge amount of logistics involved in this.
Yeah, definitely. Pharmacists don't agree with it at all. And I feel that it would put people, especially the most vulnerable people in the community, off taking their medication.
Do you feel it's a tax on sickness almost?
Essentially, that's what it is, yes, a tax.
Yeah, somebody's asking, what about patients that are in nursing homes? Some, of course, may not have a lot of income. Would they have to pay this levy?
Yes, everybody has to pay. There are very few exemptions. The exemptions, like one of them is children in care. But if you're in a nursing home, yes, you will have to pay. I even got a letter last week. Late last week? They're saying I even have to charge people who are homeless.
Oh, come on.
So everybody will have to pay the charge. There are very few exemptions. I mentioned one of the exemptions there, but they're very, very few and far between.
And the other problem, Tadhg, I foresee from the pharmacists and your staff's point of view, because there hasn't been a lot of publicity around this, and people are so used to going in with their medical card and picking up their prescriptions and walking out the door, you're going to end up with people going, what are you charging me for? That's on my medical card. Yeah,
you will, definitely. And the problem for us is that we don't have a choice. It's written into the legislation, we have to charge them. So we don't have any discretion. I would have preferred to see some reasonable exemptions for homeless people if they were determined to bring it in. And it's interesting, in the north, where they are, as everybody knows, looking for substantial budget cutbacks at the moment as well, they've decided to roll back on this. They had it for quite some time. They've decided to roll back on it, and they've removed it.
Yeah, and I also read a piece, Wales had it as well, and they decided to, I don't know what the reasons behind it was, but Wales decided to get rid of it as well. It may be, as you said, because logistically it's just so hard to collect this money that it actually costs more to collect it.
Yeah.
Than actually comes in. But
not so much logistically. I think they felt that it was putting the most vulnerable people off taking their medication, and it cost the state more in the long run.
And that is your fear, Tadhg.
To deal with the problems down the line.
Yeah, and I know people are going to say, oh, for God's sake, it's only 50 cent. But for some people, you actually think it may stop them actually getting their prescription.
I would think so, yeah. I would think some people will feel that they shouldn't have to pay it and they won't take essential medication because of this, you know. It will lead to health problems for them down the line, you know.
Mary Harney said, I think it was at the time when she was defending why she was introducing this levy, she says it was to reduce the overuse and the wastage of medicine. Is there a lot of overusage of medicine?
Like, people have become much more conscious in the current climate. You'd often have people in the pharmacy there, they would hand in a prescription and say, look, I have enough of that for this month, I have enough of another item. And staff would ask them as well, do you need everything on your prescription? And in those scenarios, those particular medications are just left out for the month. So there isn't a lot of wastage. And it's interesting that her own consultants didn't feel that this was the way to go, you know.
But you say no choice, and it's in as and from this Friday.
So in as and from Friday, yes, 50 cent per item. And now, the one thing I would point out, some people who find it difficult to manage medication get their medicine dispensed on a weekly basis in their local pharmacy. And for those people, they will only have to pay once. Say if you're collecting your medication every week, you will only have to pay once. But on the flip side of that, if you're on a medication that requires 3 strengths, and there are, you know, medications tend to be made in certain strengths. If you're on a medication that's made in 3 strengths and you need those 3 strengths to get the right individual dose for you, like, for example, a popular example is L-Troxin for thyroid, you will be charged 3 fees.
150
under the legislation, yeah.
Yeah, I can see how the limit of €10, I can see how it could be reached by families.
Yes, yes, definitely. People could be on quite a number of items, you know, especially people who may be on a number of medications for diabetes or something like that, you know.
Okay, a texter says, Patricia, listening to Tadhg, it's the homeless people I would really have pity for on this one. They would be the very ones who won't take their medication, will end up in the hospital, and it'll end up ultimately costing the HSE more and the Department of Health more. Surely another cock-up by this government. Margaret says our pharmacy in Kanturk had a notice on the counter for at least a month telling people, Margaret is wondering, take other pharmacists, have you done your best to try and put signs up to let people know?
Yes, there's been a sign in the window here for the last month, and we're telling everybody who rings in, and the staff are telling people as they come across them at the counter, reminding them about next month. But there will be still certain people who it will come as a surprise to next month, you know. There
will be confusion. And actually I was talking with some people last night and I mentioned the fact that it was coming in and I couldn't get over. Somebody thought that it was, if you went in with your prescription and there was 4 or 5 items on it, they thought it was just one-off charge of 50 cents. And I was saying, no, it's per item. That's the one that's going to catch people as well. They think they'll just have to pay 50 cents, but they could have 4 or 5 items in the bag. And
the important thing, Patricia, from our point of view is we'd ask people to continue, even if they may not agree with the charge and they may resent paying it, but it's important that they continue taking their medication. And if they do want to take the opportunity, they can have a chat with the pharmacist just to reiterate what their medication is for and what the benefits are for them.
Okay, Liz in Clonakilty says, I'm a diabetic, not on a medical card, but I'm on a long-term illness book. Will we have to pay this 50 cents per item? I'm also on blood pressure and heart tablets. On a long-term illness book?
No, they won't have to pay.
They won't have to pay. Okay, and there's just a couple of other, these are just on different issues. Mary O'Malley was on to say a family member was telling her that certain medication was going to be withdrawn for diabetics. Does Tadhg know anything about that?
There was the licensing authority in Europe notified pharmacists last week that the benefits when weighed against the risks of a particular medicine had been reviewed, and that they considered that while that people should no longer take it, a popular medicine known as Avandia.
Okay, but
just one particular, but it did cause a lot of confusion in the pharmacy because we had a lot of diabetic patients coming in thinking that it was all diabetic medications
and it wasn't.
Questioning it. No, it was one particular one.
Okay, and
if anyone has any queries, they can discuss it with their pharmacy.
And there's another one I can see. There's a couple of texts in on this. This is the Nurofen Plus. Why is it no longer available? One person is saying, and Lorraine in Blackpool is saying, why was it taken off the shelf and it's behind the counter? It's not that it's no longer available. It is. You can still buy it. It's any of the ones with codeine, isn't it, in it?
Yes. Basically, it is still available, but there was certain issues with it being used inappropriately. So while it is still available, your pharmacist will have a chat with you first and to try and discover what you're using it for and if there's a possibility of recommending something more appropriate for you. So no, it's not gone off the market. But, for example, now if somebody came in for looking for it downstairs, we'd have a quick chat with them.
Okay, and you don't need, somebody's saying, do you need to get a prescription for it from your doctor?
No.
No, you don't. Okay, all right. The 50-cent charge on medical cards in as and from Friday, and don't be taking it out on the staff and the chemists. That's what I'm most fearful of is going to happen. Tadhg, listen, thank you for that.
Okay, thanks very much.
And thank you for joining us on the programme. That is Tadhg O'Leary, an Irish Pharmacy Union member, and he has a practice in Blarney. And as Mary in Kanturk was saying, there is signs certainly up in Kanturk in her pharmacy. I imagine all of or Margaret in Kanturk, my apologies, Margaret. I imagine all of the chemists will have signs up, but you can have all the signs in the world, and some people walk by them and don't even see the signs, and it's when they go in to collect their prescription on Friday and every day thereafter, they're going to realise that there is a charge, and it is per item. I think that's the important one to get through. It is 50 cent per item. 1850 333 103.